What if you suddenly traveled back in time 600 years? Have you ever thought about that? A man born in 1971 but died 600 years ago in 1382. How is that even possible? Today, we're going to talk about one of the most incredible sci-fi thriller movies ever made. The movie is called Timeline. The movie opens with a mysterious scene. A man is desperately running through a forest. Behind him, an English soldier on horseback is chasing him down. Just as the soldier catches up and strikes him with a sword, something strange happens. The man vanishes from the forest and suddenly appears on a quiet city street. A car coming from the opposite direction barely manages to stop. The driver rushes the wounded man to a hospital, but doctors are unable to save him. However, the doctors notice something deeply disturbing. When they scan his body, it looks as if someone had cut him into pieces from the inside and glued him back together. Something like this is simply not possible in reality. Before dying, the man managed to say only one word: Castleguard. It's the name of a place. People usually call out their loved ones before death. So why did this man name a place? The man had no phone, no ID. Just a strange locket around his neck with the letters ITC on it. When the hospital contacts the ITC company, they learn the man's name is Vince Trop and that he had gone missing a few days earlier. Since Vince had no family, a man named Gordon from the company is sent to collect the body. Right at that moment, Gordon receives a phone call from someone at the company. In a hushed, tense voice, the person says, "Be very careful about what you do. Get his x-rays, his scan reports, and the body back here as fast as possible. If any of this gets out, none of us will exist anymore." What exactly are they trying to hide? Meanwhile, elsewhere, Professor Edward Johnston is teaching his students the history of Castleguard. During the war between the British and the French in 1357, the English seized the small town of Castleguard and pushed forward toward a castle called Laro. The two armies clashed in a brutal battle. The English publicly executed Lady Claire, the sister of French commander Arnaud. The execution was so horrifying that the French momentarily retreated, but in the end, the French won the war. One of the professor's students, Merrick, is a professional archaeologist. Another student, Kate, is digging through caves and underground tunnels trying to locate the ruins of Laro. One day, Merrick uncovers a stone carving, the kind placed over royal tombs. But something is unusual about it. The figure has one ear missing, and it was buried holding the hand of a woman beside it.
The professor also has a son, named Chris. He had feelings for Kate, but could never bring himself to say it. Her presence kept pulling him back to his father's work. The next day, something extraordinary happens. They discover a cave that has been sealed shut for nearly 600 years. These ancient caves can't be kept open for long, so they have to work quickly. Merrick and Kate lower themselves in on ropes. Inside, they find some papers wrapped in leather and a damaged map carved into the wall. Within minutes, the cave begins to collapse. As they rush to climb back out, Merrick spots something on the floor. A lens from a pair of glasses. The team's physicist, Josh, examines it and confirms it was made in the modern era, but the cave itself is from before the 1800s. How did a modern lens end up in a cave this old? Even stranger are the papers they found. One of them is a handwritten letter, signed by Professor Edward himself. The date at the bottom reads, February 4th, 1357. The professor is a man of the present day, so why does the letter carry a date from the 1300s? Carbon dating of the ink confirms it. The ink is 600 years old, and the prescription of the lens matches the professor's own glasses exactly. Everyone is stunned. The professor was with them just 2 days ago. How could he have ended up 600 years in the past? When they contact ITC, the company tries to brush them off. Then Chris threatens, "If I don't find my father, I'm going to the police, and I'll make sure everyone knows exactly why you sent us to dig in that specific cave." Left with no choice, ITC's head, Doniger, sends his private plane and brings them all to New Mexico. There, Dr. Stephen Kramer reveals the truth. Doniger had discovered something called a wormhole. In physics, a wormhole is theorized to be a passage through which time travel could be possible. But simply finding one isn't enough, because you can't send an entire human body through it. Josh asks, "How is that even possible? A wormhole is incredibly powerful. Getting a whole person through it is impossible." Doniger replies, "You're right, but what if the human body is broken down into billions of tiny particles? Then it can pass through, and on the other side, those particles reassemble back into a person." That's exactly how Professor Edward willingly traveled back to 1357. The rule is simple. If you don't return within 6 hours, you're stuck there, permanently. The professor crossed that limit and never came back. The only way to bring him home now is for someone else to travel back and get him. Before they leave, Doniger says something strange, something chilling. "If you see someone called Derek while you're there, take him out, immediately." Who is Derek? And why does he need to be eliminated? Everyone agrees to go, except Yaz. That means Chris, Kate, Marek, and Gordon are making the trip. The moment they step into the machine, a blinding light hits them. Their bodies feel like they're burning. Unbearable pain, lights flashing from every direction. Everyone screams, and then silence. When they regain consciousness, they find themselves in the middle of a fast-flowing river. In 1357, they barely manage to swim to the shore. As soon as they do, a girl comes running out from the trees shouting, "Hide! Hide now!" Everyone ducks into cover. Marek and the girl end up in the same hiding spot. Once the danger passes, she leads them toward Castle Guard. But trouble isn't done with them. One of Gordon's companions is killed by an English soldier's sword. Another takes an arrow, hits the marker button to return to the present, but the grenade in his hand comes back with him and explodes inside the time machine. The machine is destroyed. Back in the present, Yas stands in shock. A destroyed machine means no one can return. Doniger says they need to fix it. The time left is 5 hours and 27 minutes. Dr. Kramer is brutally honest. If the machine isn't repaired within 6 hours, the markers expire, and no one comes home ever again. English soldiers capture Chris, Marek, the professor, and Gordon, and bring them before Lord Oliver at Laro Castle. Francois, being French, is immediately assumed to be a spy and executed on the spot. The rest are locked in an attic room, where Professor Edward was already being held. To use the markers, they need to get outside. So Kate squeezes through a gap in the ceiling, climbs down the wall, enters the room where English soldiers are stationed, takes one out with an arrow, and opens the attic door. Marek, Chris, and Gordon handle the rest. As everyone runs, Marek says, "I'll catch up in a minute," because from the attic window, he had seen the French girl being held prisoner in another room. He refuses to leave her behind. He takes out the guard, gets inside, breaks through the wall with the girl, and they both sprint toward the river. Decaire, an English soldier, gives chase, with an entire unit behind him. On the other side of the river, a group of French soldiers rushes toward them. They greet the girl as Dame Claire. Marek freezes. This is Lady Claire, the same woman he had read about in history books, researched for years, and she's standing right in front of him in 14th century France. Meanwhile, the markers aren't working back in the present. The machine is still broken. No one can return. Yet. Claire's brother Arnaud agrees to give them horses and weapons in exchange for saving Claire. But on the way, English soldiers ambush the group and capture Marek, taking his marker from him. As Marek regains consciousness in captivity, Decaire approaches him. And then the twist hits. Decaire is Derek, the same Derek Doniger had ordered them to kill. Derek murders Gordon, then reveals a devastating truth. When your body breaks down into particles during time travel, they don't always reassemble correctly on the way back. Every trip damages your body more from the inside. Your DNA breaks down, People who've traveled 2 or 3 times eventually die. Vince, the man who died at the beginning of the movie, had traveled too many times and paid the price. Doniger knew this truth all along and wanted Derek silenced before he could expose it. That's why he ordered them to kill him on sight. Kate figures out that the old monastery is actually the same cave where they had been excavating in the present. She and Chris get there and find the professor's glasses and the leather-wrapped papers still sitting exactly where they'd always been. Behind the wall map is a hidden tunnel leading directly into Laro Castle. Then it clicks. They're about to break that map right now, which is exactly why they found it broken in the future. They were always the ones who broke it. They send word to Arnaud. If the French can get inside through that tunnel, the battle tips completely in their favor. Outside, the battle has already begun. The English have the advantage of being inside the castle, able to see every move the French make. And today is the day Lady Claire is scheduled to be hanged. Marek decides he won't let it happen, history or no history. He grabs a torch, marches to the English armory, and shouts, "Release Lady Claire, or I'll burn every weapon you have!" They don't comply, so he sets the armory on fire. A massive explosion follows. Inside the tunnel, Kate and Chris find the exit blocked. Arnaud is already there, but mistakes them for English soldiers and is about to kill them. At that exact moment, the armory explosion blows the blocked passage open. Arnaud storms inside. French soldiers reach Claire and pull her away from the gallows. Kate and the professor throw open every door in the castle. Hundreds of French soldiers pour in. Chris and Arnaud take down Oliver together. But when Marek reaches Claire, Decaire appears. They fight. In the struggle, Decaire's axe swings and cuts off one of Marek's ears. And then, everything makes sense. The stone carving he dug up in the present, the figure with one ear missing, the hand held by a woman in the tomb beside it. That grave was never someone else's. It was Marek's own grave, and the woman buried next to him was Lady Claire. After a brutal fight, Marek drives his sword into Decaire and ends it. With everything over, Chris turns to Marek. "Let's go home." Marek smiles quietly. "I have nothing to go back to. I'm staying here with Claire." Back in the present, Dr. Kramer manages to fix the machine to 81%. Doniger refuses to use it, afraid the reassembly will go wrong and expose him. He shoves Dr. Kramer to the ground, knocking him unconscious. But Yaz sees the markers have 1 minute left. He forces the machine on. Doniger scrambles to destroy it, but Chris hits the marker button just in time. The machine activates. Chris, Kate, and the professor return to the present. As for Doniger, he has no marker. He's trapped in the past. English soldiers cut him down with their swords. That's where his story ends. In the final scene, Chris and Kate are now working alongside the professor on new archaeological digs. Near the one-eared stone carving that Marek once unearthed, Kate finds a memorial stone. It reads, "I, Andre Marek, lived a full and happy life with my wife and our 3 children. Congratulations to those of you who made it home. Do not grieve for me. I chose a beautiful life." Born in 1971, died in 1382. And that's where the movie ends.